going to start by praising one of my own at the Tampa Bay Times. John Romano wrote a column about Nikita Kucherov, which I thought was just so well done, and and certainly deserving is Nikita of all the praise that he's probably not getting right now. But the fact of the matter is, man, the kind of company that he put himself into with his third scoring title, I mean, to say it's elite is a huge understatement,
Mm-hmm.
And we've, Nikita, for probably a lot of reasons, his standoffishness maybe being the most, maybe where he plays even, is a guy that I think clearly gets overlooked for what he's accomplished. But when you win three Art Ross trophies, and you're next to names like Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Mario Lemieux, I mean, you're talking about Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull and Guy Lafleur. I mean, come on, man.
Phil Esposito.
Phil Esposito, yeah. I mean, these are the not just Hall of Famers, but the absolute, biggest legends of hockey. And here's this guy, is not a winger, who is a winger and not a center, that for the third time has led the league in scoring. And you're debating whether he's even going to get, many MVP votes. Like, is he going to win it this year? I don't know. Maybe not. It's really something. And, the one thing that I thought was interesting about the column, when you hear this all the time, the people that are around Cooch, is that he's pretty skilled to begin with, but this guy has made himself into this kind of royalty. You know what I mean? Like, they say that the way he works, how he goes about trying to improve the weaknesses of his game. It kind of reminds me, like, I've heard Kobe Bryant talk about how as he got older, he could still go out and score 32 points a night if he wanted to, or if he put his mind to it, but he just couldn't do it the way he did it when he was 25, right? Like, he had to be more creative. He wasn't going to go just rise above the rim every time down the floor. And so I think for you to have that kind of success like he's had this year, when he's in his 30s, it shows that he's had to evolve his game because, when you watch him, John made this point, he doesn't have the hardest shot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not the fastest skater, but man, the way he sees the ice and anticipates, and, plays the game, it's like I said, he truly is one of the greatest of all time, and it's a very short list of guys that have done that.
Well, not only that, I'll give you another one tonight. He got 120 points.
Wow.
For the third time in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He is the 14th player in NHL history to reach 120 points 3 times.
Wow.
The other 13 are 12 Hall of Famers and Connor McDavid.
Who's certainly headed there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Nikita is too.
Yeah. No doubt.
Make no mistake. I mean, he's a lot like, he doesn't wow you with his game.
No.
And I think that's where, Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon, like Nate, and Cale Makar, he's a defenseman, but
yeah,
the way they play, they jump out on.
Yeah,
I equate Nikita Kucherov more like, and granted he's the greatest of all time, but Lionel Messi, who gets teased about walking around the pitch half the game, and they call it scanning. And he's watching and seeing where the holes are in this, and then he exploits it.
Mm-hmm.
And Cooch is a lot like that.
Right.
He's always just, granted, he skates faster than you think he is. He just doesn't look like he's skating fast. He's not the fastest.
Right.
But he also skates where it looks effortless. So sometimes he's not skating very hard. He actually is skating pretty fast.
Right.
But his vision, and we we've talked about the work ethic. I mean, they get eliminated from the Cup final, and a week later, or the first round, a week later, he's on the ice practicing. Most guys take the summer off. Yeah, they're working out and stuff, but he's on the ice taking hundreds of pucks off the boards, rimming it around, taking on his backhand, taking on his forehand. Like, those passes that he makes that are just incredible don't happen by accident. It's all the work he puts in. And remember, he was a second-round draft pick.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some of that was because he was in Russia, and there wasn't certainty he would come to America. He didn't play junior over here. Like a lot of guys like that will be, playing juniors in North America. And so, you have a better feel for it. But yeah, he was a second. When he came up to the league, he was a fourth liner.
Yes, he was. Mm-hmm.
When he started. And I quickly moved up. And actually, if you look at, it's funny because I forget which player it was with the Lightning, but recently hit like 200 games and had like the fourth most points per game through the first 200 games of the Lightning. And Kuch wasn't even close to him. Because his first 200 games or so, he wasn't scoring a ton.
Right.
Some, but not like he is now. I mean, he's played 120 playoff games in his career. You realize he's got the fourth highest points per game in the playoffs in history?
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He led the postseason in scoring the 2 years the Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and he didn't win the Conn Smythe. Victor Hedman did, and Andre Vasilevsky did.
Right. Well, and I was going to mention, I don't discount the fact that one of the reasons he's overlooked is sometimes he's overlooked on his own team. You know what I mean? Because you just mentioned Hedman, you mentioned Vasilevsky. How about for years and years, Steven Stamkos?
Absolutely. I mean,
right?
There's always the debate, who's the greatest Lightning player of all time? It was Vinny and Marty.
Yeah.
Most likely Stamkos. Tom Jones will tell you it's Victor Hedman.
Right.
And when we've had this discussion, a couple shows ago when he was on, the last couple times he was on, I said, yeah, I think it's Hedman right now, but it's going to be Kuch.
It is going to be Kuch.
He went, you're right.
Yeah.
Take Vazzy out of it because goalies are kind of hard to determine.
Yeah, they're
where
different.
That is in the greatest player of all time, because he's going to be one of the greatest goalies of all time, possibly.
But among the skaters, yeah.
But the skater, yeah, Kuch is the greatest Lightning player, or will be by the time he's done. He's going to own most of the records.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is the thing. He's, into his 30s now, and he just won his third title. It's not as if this guy is slowing down. We don't know how many more times he's going to do this, but this probably isn't the last. Here's a graph from John's column that got me. Since 2015, what's that, 10 years, right?
Yep.
Kucherov has more points than Alex Ovechkin, more goals than Nathan McKinnon, and a better plus-minus ratio than Sid Crosby. I mean, holy cow, right? Like,
that's saying something.
He's absolute royalty. He's absolute royalty, and even in Tampa Bay, I think Lightning fans know how valuable he is, and certainly his teammates do, and his coach. But and we love to hear, what Paul Porter would, Cooch and all that. But still,
off.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have the big pause there.
Yeah. But still, in all, it still goes a little bit under the radar, even among the fan base, right? Because of these other sort of, generational talents that have been here for so long, like Hedman and, going before when Kuch was here and Marty. And there's a lot of iconic Tampa Bay Lightning players. When you list them, I think you're right. When you said that to Tom, he thought about it, but it's true. He's gonna retire whenever that is. The most prolific, Lightning player, just in terms of the records that he's going to have. He's 31. He's 31, and you kind of just really don't know how he does it. John says that it's a little bit like watching a premier musician on stage. You know what they're doing, you hear the notes they play, or you see what they're doing. You might even understand the concept of the instrument in their hands, but you have no idea of how they do it, no concept of how they do it. And that's the way it is with Kuch, But man, yeah, now he's had playoff success, a lot of it. I remember him famously, though, getting suspended for a game. Was it against Columbus when they went down 4 straight, I think, to the Blue Jackets?
Yeah, he got suspended for game 3.
Yeah. But that aside, if he could win another cup, Not that he needs it to be in the Hall of Fame, but if he could win another cup, he would continue to set himself apart from so many others.
No question.
And I would say this: there's no one other than maybe Ovechkin who's had more fun after winning a cup than Nikita Kucherov. I mean, I think it's those two, right? Like in terms of celebration, in terms of inebriation, in terms of just the longevity of partying. Those two stand alone in my mind.
I think Matthew Tkachuk did a pretty good job last year.
Yeah, he did. That's true. But still, it would be great to see him win one more. And I think because of him,
one more. Why stop at one more?
Well, maybe he wins 5 more. I think because of him and because of this roster, the core that's been together now for a while, and some of the young guys that they've filtered through here, right? Look, Braden Point's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day if he continues on this pace. I mean, it's an incredible run. I think you talked about like what's the next jersey to go up in the building, right? And how many of these current players will be up there? Man, they just keep adding them.
Yeah, the jersey. We were having this discussion the other day at the arena, and it was how many of the guys from this last 10, 12-year run are going to get their numbers retired. And I don't think it'll be as many. They're all going in the Lightning Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Andre Palat and Tyler Johnson and Alex Killorn. And, they're all going in the Hall of Fame. Pat Maroon. They're all going. That Lightning Hall of Fame is going to get crowded quick.
Yeah, for sure.
How quickly they add everybody, but they'll add, probably a couple a year. But the jersey retirements, there's 2 now, 4 and 26.
That's it. Just 2. It's going to be a lot.
I got to imagine, 91, 88, 77, 86.
Yes, at minimum. Mm-hmm.
Those 4 will be retired. I'm not sure. Braden Point, maybe.
I think Braden Point has a really good shot at it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone we were talking about, is Braden Point a Hall of Famer? And I said, if his career ended today,
no,
I don't think he is. I think the other 4 are.
He's on the glide path to it, and I don't know how many more years he'd have to play based on how much he scores.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be that many, though.
They win another cup or 2.
Oh,
that adds a lot to it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget that the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's not the NHL Hall of Fame. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. So True. Canada goes and wins a gold medal, and Braden Point's on that team.
Good point.
That adds to it.
Right. Yeah, and they got a Hall of Fame coach.
Who's never won the Coach of the Year.
Who can't win the Coach of the Year. Any chance he does it this season?
No, he won't even be a finalist. Nope.
The punishment because you have good players,
although this year I will say, Spencer Carberry in Washington has done a phenomenal job. That team wasn't expected to make the playoffs, and they're the best team in the East.
That's true. Yeah.
Dean Evison in Columbus, what they've had to deal with Johnny Gaudreau.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And that's the last spot. All the playoff spots and seeds are determined, except for wild card 2 in the East. Montreal is 2 points up, but Columbus is still has the shot.
Right.
Going into the last 2 days of the regular season. But what he's done in Columbus, those 2 coaching, I think John Cooper deserves Coach of the Year many years. He's done a great job this year, but those 2 coaches this year deserve it over him. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, when you have teams that turn it around, and the Lightning are always sort of in the mix and in the postseason, you just look up, they're there. We like things that are new. We like new storylines. We notice new. And
it was Nathan McKinnon last year winning the MVP. Well,
right.
It's his turn.
It's his turn. Right. Exactly.
No,
right.
It's supposed to be the most valuable player.
Right.
There's no turns about it. It's supposed to be who was the most valuable of their team. I would argue what Cooch did last year was. Now, like I said, McKinnon had an MVP year. So did Matthews. So did McDavid.
There was not a bad choice, right?
No, all 4 were. Put those in any other years. McKinnon's numbers last year would be the tops in hockey this year.
Sure. Most years, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd have walked away with it. And I don't know where Cooch probably won't win it again. Probably.
He's not really talked about, although now that he's leading the scoring race and going to win it again.
He'd probably be a finalist again.
No, I think he will, but he might be gaining a little more support right now.
All right.
Because before he was in and out of near the top scoring race.
Now he's clinched it. Yeah.
Yep. And he's tied for the league leading assists with McKinnon now. So if he gets an assist on Thursday night, he'll lead the league in that by himself.
Right.
But he's a special player to watch because he does it so differently. He's such a unique talent
from a position that you generally don't lead the league in scoring.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of centermen, and he's playing the wing. So
not a lot of wingers can control a game.
No, but he certainly does that. They had, of course, they played Florida, and with Toronto beating Buffalo, that kind of locked the Lightning into their first round playoff meeting with the Panthers.
Yep,
they did win 5-1.
Yeah, 4th time in 5 years they'll play. 5 years they'll play in the playoffs,
which is the definition of a rivalry, and absolutely what the NHL had in mind, I'm sure, or at least hope for a regional rivalry when the Panthers and the Lightning are in the state of Florida. Now, here's the thing: the winner of the previous meetings at least advanced to the Cup final, winning it twice. So of this series, so that's something to think about.
Yep.
So they put themselves in position, which is, what you want to do. Now, this game, even though probably entertaining for the fans and maybe a statement to them, the Panthers played it the way we thought they would, right? They put their backup goaltender. They, didn't have a lineup that included Barkov or Sam Reinhart.
So they have a lot of cap space.
Yeah.
And it's because... One, Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR, which they ate up a lot of that cap space as part of the trade deadline. So they're in LTIR and over the cap because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then Aaron Ekblad, the week after the trade deadline, got suspended.
Right? Yeah,
that money, then you can actually use that money to go over the cap more.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been able the last week or two to call up a bunch of
their guys
and rest guys. The Lightning cannot do that. They don't have any cap space.
Right. And they've got some guys hurt as a result,
Well, yeah, Glendening and Bjorkstrand, and then, Jesse Puljujarvi had the cheap shot on Mitchell Chaffee on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And that looked the way he fell to the ice looked concussion-like.
Yeah.
No update on him yet, and the Lightning do not practice today, so we won't get an update till Thursday. I would imagine he sits out Thursday night in New York. Not sure if they have enough cap space to call someone up for one game. Assuming Glendening doesn't play, and he was at practice on Tuesday, which was a good sign. Did not play, but he was at practice. Well, we'll see. The Lightning may have to go short a man on Thursday night.
Oh, boy.
But I would imagine Johansson gets a start in that. I'm guessing Vazzy will not.
Yeah, no, I'm guessing not either. I think you rest him for the final time because he's not going to take a night off. Hopefully you think for the rest of the playoffs and you go deep into him.
Well,
so
if he's taking a night off, that's not good.
That means he's hurt.
That means he's hurt because they're not benching him,
right?
No matter what.
No, not a chance. Not a chance in hell. But it is a very good to extraordinary Lightning season, and they were in it until the final 2 games to finish first. But they accomplished what they needed to, which was get in the postseason. And now, I still say, unfortunately for them, they got to play Florida in the first round. But then again, you got to go through them sometime, and it seems like this is an annual occurrence.
I don't know. You could say the same for Florida. Unfortunately for them, they got to face.
They're not happy about it. No, of course not. Yeah, of course not.
Lightning are finishing top 5 in scoring and defense and power play. I think they're 6th or 7th in penalty kill.
It's a good team, and it's
second in the NHL in goal differential.
Yeah, it's an extraordinarily good team at home too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they have home ice. So I think the fact that they played so well in Emily, and that if there is a game 7, they'll play it here, is also to their advantage. So it would behoove Florida to try to dispatch them a little quicker than the full 7 games if they could.
Do you realize the Lightning home court advantage or home ice advantage? I'm watching the NBA here, but home ice advantage. The last time the Lightning had home ice advantage in a series was the 2021 Cup final against Montreal.
Wow. 2021?
The 2022 run to the Cup final against Colorado, they were the lower seeded team in every one of those matchups.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the last 2 years in the first round, they were the lower seeded team.
It doesn't matter until it matters, right? Like you don't go into it saying, well, we got home ice in case we go to a game 7, but then it does matter. I mean, it is a thing. Now, like we talked about, there will be immense pressure for them to win those games, an expectation to win those first games at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then you hand the home ice advantage back to Florida. I think they're capable of winning down there, but you definitely want to get off to a good start if you're going to take advantage of the home ice. But the crowd will be juiced. It's a good, solid Lightning team. It always comes down to the same thing: is injuries, and they're starting the playoffs with some of their key people out, and that's not good. Do they still have enough to win? Yes, but then when you get into the postseason, you get guys hurt. And who can stay the healthiest, and that's true of every sport. Maybe more so for hockey, but it was true when the Buccaneers won Super Bowls. Both years they won Super Bowls, they got nobody hurt. Booger McFarland got hurt late in Detroit in the 2002 season. They were able to get by without him. With Chuck Gurley and different guys stepping in next to Warren Sapp. I could have played next to Warren Sapp. And so they got through it. And then when the Bucs won in 2020, they lost their starting guard, but they were able to replace him. So I mean, it wasn't like they stayed healthy, and that was during a pandemic. That was during a time when if you got COVID, you're going to be out for a while. So they were fortunate there, but you got to have luck with injuries. You just do. Sometimes you make your own, but you can't be getting guys hurt, and so who knows what's going to happen. Florida is a pretty physical team, aren't they? I mean, aren't they a team that's going to challenge you physically right away? Although it's the postseason, you want to stay out of the box. I think that's the difference. Is both teams want to stay out of the box.
Oh, but they'll be physical. I mean, especially if they get Kachuk back, and we know what Sam Bennett can do, and
right.
I mean, that's a team. That's a team that wants to play physical, wants to hit you,
right, wants
to grind on you, wants to wear on you. I mean, that's definitely their game.
But I think the Lightning are up for that, and I think they're maybe, I don't know, are they built? They're more built for it now this year than they were a year or two ago. I don't know. About the same cast, I suppose, but
yeah, I mean, there's some different pieces, but the Lightning have never shied away from that.
No.
And you saw some some skirmishes tonight. Actually, I thought tonight's game might get a little more out of hand than it did physically.
Yeah, because of what's coming up, right?
Well, what's coming up, and a lot of guys in Florida who aren't going to be playing in the playoffs, trying to make a case to play in the playoffs,
to get on the roster. Yeah.
But it maybe because the score got out of hand early, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I anticipated there would be more than what happened in the game, but yeah, I mean, Florida definitely. It's going to be another good series. I mean, fourth time in 5 years. These two teams have been the Eastern Conference representative in the Stanley Cup final for the last 5.
It's incredible.
Some of the best hockey. I mean, you can easily make the case the winner of this series goes on to the Stanley Cup final out of the East.
Yeah.
I know Toronto won the division, but you still have questions about their defense and goalie. Washington, you're not certain of. They had a phenomenal season. New Jersey's got injuries. Carolina's that team that plays hard, plays well, but can't advance. Florida and Tampa are the ones in the East. You kind of go, we know what they are. We know that they've got the pedigree and the experience. Toronto, yes, they won the division. Congratulations. The first time they've done it with this group. Now they got to go. They got to face the Battle of Ontario. How much pressure's on that one?
Oh God.
Facing Ottawa.
Yeah,
a lot. Now, Toronto's going to be favored heavily, but I don't see that series being a blowout.
Mm-mm.
No, and Ottawa's got nothing to lose against. Like I said, their province mate. I mean, there's some pressure on Toronto there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Stanley Cup Finals are the best, man. It's going to start Saturday night.
We still don't know officially when the Lightning will play, although it looks like sometime this weekend. But
Yeah, I mean, the regular season ends Thursday night, so by Thursday night late,
Yeah.
I would imagine we'll know. Maybe they'll know ahead of time. All the matchups are set, except for we don't know if it's Montreal or Columbus going to face Washington. But every other matchup in the NHL is now set.
How do they determine, like, let's say it's a Saturday or a Sunday game? How do they determine if a team is playing in the afternoon versus night? Is it just the audience you think they'll draw? In other
It's
words,
television.
would
It's what
Florida
television wants.
Florida and Tampa Bay in and of themselves not the biggest markets, right? So you would think they'd save some primetime games. So maybe the Lightning and Panthers will be sooner rather than later.
Well, there's a few things at play when it comes to this for this sport. One is ESPN or TNT picking it, or is Canada picking this match?
Good point.
Because if it's Toronto, Ottawa, not a huge following in the U.S. for that one, but ESPN will still carry it. So okay,
Yeah.
Hockey night in Canada, Saturday night at 7. They generally want a Canadian team there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Sportsnet's going to want for Canada.
Sure.
The other part, and people don't realize this with hockey and it impacts, is that the NBA playoffs are going on at the same time.
That's
and
right.
Some of these buildings have both.
That's true too. Yeah.
And so not only is there scheduling of buildings is there a concert here or an event at the buildings?
You got postseason stuff. Yeah.
But you've got some of them have NBA games being played.
Yeah.
And so you've got to work around both. Plus, both ESPN and TNT carry both NBA and NHL.
They got a schedule, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of moving pieces that it's not just as simple as we'll put the schedule out.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that we know all the matchups and the only thing we don't know is which team is playing Washington. It's one of two. Maybe the schedule comes out today. Maybe they can put it out now that they know because, but there's the NBA play-in tournaments going on now, and not certain everybody who's in it, but are some of those buildings impacting in the NHL? You get something like Madison Square Garden if the Rangers aren't in the playoffs, and but if the Rangers and Knicks are there, they got to schedule around that, like both of them playing, or Staples Centers with the Kings and the Lakers, or whatever it's called now.
Whatever it is.
I think it's a new name, but
yeah,
I don't think it's Staples Centers anymore. But
right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and then it's which network gets to pick the game at that point, and so
I think it would be interesting if they just let the NBA on TNT cast call the Lightning, call the NHL games.
That's terrible. That's
terrible. And that Kucherov, that guy, he's a Russian, but that guy, man,
Barkley's a big Lightning fan.
Is he? Oh, because he knows Coop, right?
Oh, he knows Coop. Yeah, he's a huge Lightning fan.
I like Cooper, man. That's my guy.
No, Cooper is Mr. TNT.
Well, yes, he is. Oh, yes, he is. He's got a desk waiting for him whenever he wants to stop coaching, man. Yeah, they love him. He is Mr. TNT. That's a good point. Oh, boy. Well, maybe we can get Cooch to happen by Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall to get himself so he knows what it's playoff time, right? Well, he needs to know what time it is, and you do that by getting one of those great Swiss watches at Breitling Boutique. Now, what Kucherov would tell you is if you go into International Plaza, it's near the center of the mall, go upstairs. Just a great store. You're going to enjoy the customer service, which is second to none. They're used to dealing with players like Kucherov or Buccaneer players or Tampa Bay Rays. They're also going to treat you like the celebrity that you are. Check out the beautiful Chronomat watches, the Navitimers. And they also have watches, not just for men, but also for women. Great sports watches. These things are beautiful. They're durable. Tons of colorful wristbands to choose from. It's Breitling Boutique, and if you go, you may see that they still have some availability for the NFL limited edition 104th year anniversary watches. These are team watches. All 32 teams were represented. They have the team colors on the face of these chronomats, and they also have the logo. Absolutely stunning. You can see the Bucks watch, I think, on our website if you go to tampabay.com. It's Breitling Boutique International Plaza. Make sure you let them know that that Sports Day Tampa Bay sent you there. Breitling Boutique. All right, well, the Tampa Bay Rays could have used some goals. They didn't get quite as many as they did the night before.
They need some more points, as Joe Madden would say.
We need some points, yeah. We were hitterish the night before, not so hitterish in where they left off. So if you remember, 16 runs on Monday, and they had scored 34 over the past 4 games. Yeah, they were held to 4 runs and 7 hits by Walker Bueller, and 3 relievers. And
Which 4 runs
so,
doesn't sound bad, but the problem is you gave up 7 earlier.
yeah, exactly. You were down in this game pretty quickly. And Ryan Pepio, he gave up a run in each of the first 4 innings and 6 altogether. It was surprising to me that he made it to the 6th inning, and good on him for kind of taking it on the chin there and helping the bullpen out with all these games still left to play on this homestand. But it wasn't that his stuff was bad; it was that his stuff was over the middle of this plate. Like he was wild in the zone, and that everything he threw was sort of center cut and it was elevated. And in this ballpark, I assure you, what you don't want to do is elevate pitches over the middle of the plate, because if guys get it in the air, and they did, they're going to ride it out of there. And that's kind of what happened. They ambushed them pretty early, sort of the way the Rays came out the night before. So, you know, you can't expect them to score 16, every game. But the Bueller guy made some really tough pitches, and they left some guys on base again, which has sort of been their MO when they lose. But yeah, it was just kind of got away from Pepio early, and you want more consistency from him, because I think he has as much talent as anybody on that staff. But he wasn't sharp in terms of his location, and in the big leagues, especially pitching in that park, you've got to make some adjustments. He finally did during the game. He started to throw inside a little bit more and back some guys off the plate. And he did. I guess he sat down the last 8 batters he faced, to get through the 6th inning. They were still down 6-2 at that time. But that's the most earned runs and hits. They give up 9 hits that he's had in his career. So, the good news was he did battle. He did not, go out there and say, well, this game's out of hand and I'll be out of here in an inning and a third. He kept his pitch count down long enough to go 6. So you give him credit for that. Doesn't exactly excite you about the ERA and all that stuff, but in a homestand like this one, for him to preserve the pitching staff, that certainly helps. So, meanwhile, Jonathan Aranda just continues to mash the ball. That guy's batting like 400 right now. It's
413, leading Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, talk about hitterish, right? We saw it though. He was up and down so many times, and some of it was maybe injury related, but like they couldn't find a spot for him, right? And this year they decided, you're our everyday first baseman. We're going to DH Yandy Diaz, and that's the way it's going to go. And I think that's affected Yandy a little bit, because I still think that's a hard thing to do, exclusively. For the most part, Yandy's a DH now, and you got to figure out, how much between at bats are you going to go and look at video or hit. I do think there's a rhythm to the sport of baseball that if you're you know going out there and playing defense between at bats, you're not dwelling on stuff that might be better for some people. It would be for me, certainly. I don't know how you DH. I never understood how somebody could be as successful just coming up and hitting 4 times or 5 times in a game. But be that as it may, he's let off a couple games before this one with home runs. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. But yeah, their averages overall, if you look up and down the lineup, I mean, the Rays have been good offensively. And Aranda's led them and led the league, as you just mentioned, in a lot of things. So, look, that ballpark, if they get into the summertime and guys start hitting the ball in the air, I mean, it's yielding so many home runs now. It's only going to be more, I think, as the summer goes on. And it's going to be a story all year long. But because of it, even when they were down 6-2, they get a couple guys on, and I felt like, yeah, this game's not over. You know what I mean? Like, you still have a chance, because and that it works both ways. If you have a lead, no lead is safe, but you can come back in this ballpark too. They just couldn't get the big hit when they needed it. So yeah, they'll see the rubber game, I guess, with the Red Sox, and then the Yankees come to town.
Big 4-game set this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday. Look for me. I'll wave out of the press box. There he is. Still intimate, man. I love the setting. I'm starting to get the aesthetics on TV. You realize you're looking at a minor league park because there's not that third deck, but they kind of do things with the camera angles and everything. You're right down, sort of close to the field anyway. But it was a beautiful night, and in those, unfortunately, a lot of Red Sox fans, not surprisingly, they travel well. How many Yankee? What do you think the ratio will be, Yankees to Rays fan at the Yankees spring home stadium when they come back?
More than 50.
More than that's what I thought. I thought that too. It's going to sound a lot like the Yankees home park, which in fact it is, just not for the regular season. So for those guys, they'll have to go to the visitors clubhouse, which probably won't thrill them all that much. But yeah, they're going to be surprised at how much the Rays aesthetically have taken over that stadium. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that it wasn't their home ballpark. They've done such a great job with that, that strikes you right away. So the Bucs are getting ready for the NFL draft. That's only 8 days away, which is hard to believe. We'll get into that a little bit as the week goes on. Maybe we can get Eduardo Encina to talk to us a little bit about this Lightning playoff coming up before the week is out.
Yeah, now that we know the opponent, we just don't know the schedule yet, but we know who. So
sure. So we'll try to talk more Lightning.
Yeah,
which will lead to even later nights for you and me, but that's okay. Like I said, hopefully we'll get.
We do it for you. We do it.
We do it all for you. You freaking people, right? We do it all for you. It's certainly not for the money or the fame, but we do it for you. I said do, but we do it for you. Anyway, get your mailbag questions in. Probably have time for that sometime this week. You can do that on Sports Day Tampa Bay.
Oh, by the way, I saw a weird stat too. So
yeah,
today was April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day.
Yes, Tax Day. Yes.
You know the Rays have not won on April 15th since 2011.
But what? What is that all about? The Jackie curse?
I don't know. In a couple of years they didn't. There was like 2 or 3 years in there they didn't. They had an off day on the day, but they have not won on April 15th since 2011, and it held true on Tuesday night.
Wow, that's an odd but I guess somewhat relevant stat.
Yeah.
What have they done to tick off Jackie Robinson? Not sure. You know, it was cool when Don Zimmer was alive. There were a few of those days. I was at the ballpark, I think, at least 1 or 2 of those days, randomly. And of course, Zim, knew Jackie was his teammate and good friend for years and years. To hear him talk about him was like it's like a museum, right? Like you're listening to history, and I enjoyed that as much as anything I've ever been around. Was hearing Don Zimmer talk about his friend Jackie Robinson. It was just great. But yeah, that's an odd stat, a really odd stat, an unfortunate one at that. They need to get off the snide on Jackie Robinson Day, but
the good thing is today is not Jackie Robinson.
It is not Jackie Robinson Day. Maybe it'll be, Jonathan Aranda Day. I don't know.
There you go.
Maybe it'll be something like that, but we'll see. So yeah, they'll wrap up the series, and then then the Yankees come to town, and that's going to be exciting, and plenty of pinstripes in the audience, I'm sure. So. Again, go to Breitling Boutique. You might see some Yankee players there. It's in International Plaza Mall, center of the mall. Go up there, ask to look at the various watches they have, men's and women's watches as well. Lots of collections. And again, the NFL 104th year anniversary watches, 32 team watches you can choose from as supplies last. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you let them know you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.